Hello everybody. Brief video to walk through the group assignment. This will go throughout the term. There's a bunch of pieces on it, so I did want to kind of walk through how it works. Basically, you can do it in groups of 2 or 3. So please send me your teams and I will send you a file. There are different versions of the assignment file that I send to different groups. So today is Monday the 18th. I will leave groups open for you to tell me what group you'd like to be in until this Friday. And if I haven't heard, then I'll put everyone who's left on groups over the weekend for next Monday. So again, please send me your groups. In response to questions I've already had, no, you can't have 4 people. Yes, you can do it by yourself, but it'd save you work if you got groups of 2 or 3 of you. And kind of shared the grief. It actually works out quite well to split amongst a group. I have had a couple of people, ask me to find a group for them, and that is fine. And as soon as Friday's done, I will do that. There's really not a whole bunch you can do on this at this point in time anyway, so you're not behind. So when you get your file, you will see there is a tab called Introduction. There's not a lot here other than administrative kind of things. So this assignment is completed in 2 parts. Part 1 is you're going to go through a bunch of accounting issues for a company that you've taken over, and there's a bunch of mistakes, and you have to fix them. Okay, so you do some analysis and you fix them. As soon as part 1 is completed, which will be due on Wednesday, March 17th, end of day, I will send you a file with the correct entries for part 1 so that you don't have to wait for me to mark it. And then you'll do part 2. And part 2 is just doing income tax entries and then doing the financial statements. Okay? So that's basically all this is saying. Yeah. I just want to shrink this a bit so that you can see what I'm seeing. A more important part of this assignment when you get it is a tab called Information. Please, 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 if you have any questions about the assignment or you're confused, go back to this and read. Most of the answers are in here. And what it is, it's a series of issues that correspond to chapters in the textbook. So, number 1, no property or equipment was sold in 2020. That's just a little piece of data you need to do the cash flow statement. So that's right at the end of it. Issue 2 is about a lease, and this lease has a retirement obligation. So you actually can't do this question until we've completed leases, which we'll do right after the break. Last week of February, first week of March. And then you'll have to come back and add an asset retirement obligation to it, which is from Chapter 13. So that's a fairly significant issue. I mean, you could do the ARO calculation now, but you can't really do a whole bunch with it. And that's what number 3 is talking about the ARO. Number 4 is we're going to issue a convertible bond. So it's a bond that's convertible into common shares. And we are going to cover the accounting for that. Not next week, but the week after. So before the break. And, this is a fairly encompassing issue. So once we're done chapter 16, it would be a good time to address this while it's fresh in your mind. And it's good practice for an exam. Issue 5 is a pension question. There's not a lot to this, but it confuses students. So again, I would recommend do it when we do the pension chapter, which that'll be the last one we do before March 17th. So I think we finish it the Friday of the week before, and then you'd have a few days to deal with this last issue. But again, please read, and I highlight this, but I know this section here that I have highlighted, it tells you what to do. And yeah, I get a lot of questions on this. So if you go back to here, it'll tell you what to do. We had some share transactions. this is a very small issue, and you can deal with it after we complete the next chapter we're going to do next week. Taxes is for part 2, so you don't need to worry about that until after March 17th. And yeah, the rest of this really deals with the cash flow statement. Okay, so here's descriptions of issues. What are you going to do with these descriptions of issues? Well, you've got draft financial statements prepared by the controller for 19 and 20. Hint, when you go to do your balance sheet, it needs to be classified. You can't just do it like this. This is wrong, right? You need current assets, long-term assets, liabilities, equity, etc. All those. Don't forget everything you learned in 209. And there's an income statement. So those are your starting numbers. There is a tab here called Analysis 1. It is blank. This is freeform. I mean, there's columns in here, but other than that, this is where you're going to do your work and support the entries you are going to do to correct the financial statements. So, you just kind of go issue 2 and then, and then go back and do all your analysis and propose some entries at the end of it. And once again, freeform, type whatever you want. This is where I'm going to go to look for part marks and see your analysis and see your backup. Once you have entries, you're going to drop it on this tab. So there is a set of columns for each issue that requires entries. And you're just going to drop the entries in there. Debits on the left, credits on the right. You might have more than one entry related to this issue. And if so, you can drop them all in here. So there's the capital lease, there's the ARO, there's that bond, convertible bond payable, there's the pension, and there's a stock dividend. So you need entries in those 5 columns to complete part 1, and then income tax you'll do at the end. You do not need to do anything with this spreadsheet other than type your entries in. Your ending numbers are all calculated here. Right, so it's going to add any debits, subtract any credits, whatever it needs to do. These are the numbers you need for your financial statements. Don't add any rows. You have all the accounts you need. If you think you need an account, go back to the information and see, and you probably don't. Okay? So part 1, go through the issues in the information tab, do some analysis in the analysis tab, write your debits and credits onto this TB, ATV, and HEs tab, and you're done. Send it to me. I will send you a file back that has the correct entries, and then you will complete analysis 2, which is just a tax entry for the most part. Oh, earnings per share as well. Sorry, you need earnings per share for your income statement, so you would put that on here too, the calculation. And then you will draft financial statements. Don't short shift yourself on time. This part will be due the last day of classes, so Friday, April 9th, end of day. Balance sheet, income statement don't take that long. The cash flow statement will give you some grief, typically. So it'll take a little more time. The biggest piece of advice I can give you, and I know some of you still struggle with Excel, link everything. When you do your analysis in this tab and you come to your entries, link your entries from there back to your work. Why? Because I assume your team might want to review your work, and if anything changes, you don't have to go and redo this. What's even more important for linking is when you do your financial statements, don't type in numbers here. Link it back to your trial balance, because the trial balance balances. So if you use every account in the right direction, your financial statements have to balance. As soon as you start typing in numbers separately in your financial statements, you have lost that balancing way, and you're going to be out of balance, and you're not going to have a clue why, and it's going to take you forever to find it. Whereas if you link everything, you can just make sure you got everything included, and it has to balance. Okay, that should be a pretty good walkthrough, I think, of what you need to do. I will send out an email with the due dates and with this video attached. Good luck. Hopefully I will remind you as we go through the course that you can do various sections as we do the various chapters. Thanks all.